415-7904 if you want to get all technical. 5 o'clock on the East Coast, taking y'all straight up the lock, 2+ hours nonstop NBA DFS conversation. It is a big boy slate. Not a lot of time for pleasantries. Myself and Chris Kirkwood, Kirk Dees, a.k.a. Kid Yahoo, a.k.a. Kid Juggalo. Kirkwood, Friday, big boy slates. Lot going on. It's pretty overwhelming. Not a ton of body parts as far as injuries we're monitoring right now. I guess the biggest one is probably Darius Garland and his hamstring. We got a late addition to the injury report for Anthony Simons. He has a thumb. He's questionable. Plays late. Maybe Portland is starting that tank early. It's going to happen organically either way. And Cam Johnson. I guess Cam Johnson, the other one's kind of interesting for Brooklyn already with Claxton out too. They're already thin. What's up, Kirkwood? How are things? And is that the three main pieces as far as injuries that we're taking a peek at?
Yeah, I mean Claxton's out, so we were anticipating that already. It's Garland we're waiting on, and Anthony Simons is the late one that kind of dropped. It's going to be interesting. Bobby Gomes is coming on next. I think I saw on the schedule. We got to record our NFL pod, so it's going to be interesting if that news breaks while we're on the pod. So could be a fun time.
Talk a little basketball in the middle of your football conversation. One of these days, by the way, I'm gonna get an invite, right? Week 15 or so, when you guys are tired of each other, I'm gonna jump on. I'm inviting myself to the podcast. I listen every week.
I mean, you're welcome anywhe. You're Dean. You're a icon in the industry. You know.
No, I wasn't fishing. I wasn't doing that. I like listening to your podcast, and every once in a while, I'm like, oh man, I would have liked to slip this in there, and I don't know. I want to mess with the chemistry in that show. When you guys are already in autopilot mode, week 15 or so.
Yeah, so it takes a little time to build the chemistry. Bobby and I were fighting before the show last week. He just has this. He thinks I'm the biggest Celtics homer in the world, and I'm not. I'm a homer. I like my team, but I think I'm pretty reasonable. And then he hates on his own home teams. It's crazy to me, but yeah. Anyways,
speaking of that, by the way, speaking of your Celtics, your Celtics are taking on my Heat. Kind of a fun game tonight. My Heat, of course, knocked your Celtics out in the playoffs yet again last season.
You had to throw that in there. You had to.
Well, the people. I'm just reminding. I'm sure you're aware, but the people in the chat, I'm sure maybe a few people forgot. I suppose it's possible. Boston looks great. They reloaded. Miami looks kind of not great, and they're going to have to the old Heat culture. They really got the Heat culture the heck out of this season because they lost several big pieces and basically got nothing else in return. Thomas Bryant, unless you consider that something, not really. But hey, we should probably just dive fully in as far as the slate. Do you want to mention anything as far as broad scope when it comes to tonight's slate? There's not a ton of incredible value for an 11 gamer. I don't think so, at least showing the season. There's some good value pieces, but there's not anything complete. There's no Obi Toppin for 3K. That's not lurking tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm getting a lot of Grizzlies, and that we know how that worked out the other night with Jaren Jackson for the people. But I mean, that's anytime. So that's the Blake Snell, right? Jaren Jackson Jr. is the Blake Snell of early season.
Sure.
NBA, it's the same concept where he could just completely blow up in foul trouble. But I don't know. NBA's been pretty good. I'm just getting, we're getting rolling, getting into the swing of things. So a little time to watch all these teams. I don't know if you've got the NBA League Pass. You've been following along. What I like is if you got the YouTube TV, you can actually do multi-view on your television now.
Well, I don't have that.
Games. Yeah.
I got the quad box though. You get the quad box, you get 4 games. I haven't actually figured that out just yet.
Yeah.
Because,
well, I mean, you can do that on the computer. You can do that on the computer,
yeah.
Right? It never worked with Apple TV or anything like that. But now it works with YouTube TV.
The big slate on Wednesday night, I didn't get to watch a bunch of it because I was recording the NBA show, the Pick Six show with Rebar and Daigle. So I only caught the back end basically of the San Antonio game and some of the early stuff. But yeah, I'm excited, looking forward to watching a bunch of basketball tonight. And yeah, DK gave me a free code for League Pass, and I already paid for League Pass. So it's the whole thing. Now, give me a heads up on this. Jeez.
No,
I appreciate it.
I used it, and then I realized that it wouldn't transfer over to YouTube TV. So I had to buy YouTube. I had to buy it anyway. So I have 2 subscriptions to it, which is pointless, but only so I can just watch 4 at a time on the TV. You know, it's crazy. So I texted Aguiar and I was like, thanks for nothing.
It's a brilliant thought, by the way, just as like a side note. Like,
of course.
Yeah, I mean, people would like to bet on or like, you know, play.
Yeah, it's like the horse
things they're
racing.
watching.
When you get a horse racing account, you get to watch all the horse races. Like on, this is what I've heard. You know, I'm not what I've heard. But, you know.
I don't have a horse racing account, although back in the day, I used to love going to Calder a fair bit.
It got pretty bad during COVID for me when it was the only game in town. It was I was doing the ponies every day. Yeah.
So there's 2 7:00 games. Sometimes I like to punt to 7:00 games and like, you know, buy more information and just sort of also like being on this show. Like sometimes it's like a really, really close as far as when I finalize my lineups. But I think there's actually some players we're going to want in these 7:00 games. The very first one, Detroit at Charlotte, 226 is the total. Charlotte is a 4-point favorite versus the Pistons. The Pistons look pretty good. Gave Miami a fight opening night. We saw Jalen Duran. You know, we're going to talk about centers a lot, I'm sure. He's a cheap center. Looks pretty interesting. Good matchup for centers against Charlotte. We saw Cade Cunningham. Cade Cunningham looked spectacular coming back from his injuries. He crushed. And Beef Stew, you know, a fair bit of minutes. That's Isaiah Stewart. Chucking some threes. He'll throw some threes up there. Not necessarily his forte, but he's a willing shooter from there. I kind of like some of the Detroit pieces, you know, for tournaments. Cunningham's going to be low owned once again. Duran going to get a fair bit of ownership, I think, as far as we can tell. We're going to get a refresh, obviously, soon enough. Talking about the Pistons, do you agree? I think Detroit's kind of sort of somewhat interesting. Like, typically, I would just 11 games late Detroit, and they're like basically fully healthy, right? Whatever, as far as the pieces that matter. Bogdanovich is out. Livers and Morris, we don't care about that so much. But I think there's at least some, you know, in the matchup against Charlotte plays fast. So Miami plays slow. And I think Detroit, we can get 35 minutes or so out of these guys. I kind of like Detroit, which is a weird thing for me to say, especially in 11 games. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I like this game, just like you. They play fast, and it's like two kind of poor teams, and these are the places that you get a lot of fantasy goodness sometimes. Now, the problem though, I mean, shout out to Yahoo for pricing Cade Cunningham for $10 the other day on the first slate.
Did not see that.
What was his ownership? Slate, like 90, like 85%, like or something.
Yeah, ridiculous. That's the floor. People don't know that.
Yeah. So I mean, and he balled. He looked great. The surprising thing was Jalen Ivey not getting many minutes.
He got squeezed.
And I think that's probably going to be continuing on, but I still want to monitor that. Mark Williams was an absolute beast. LaMelo, obviously a great play, but he's too expensive. Just because it seems like they're going to cap his minutes now. There's a lot of talk there. So he got 31 minutes, and I think they're going to keep it somewhere around there. That's what they're going to be shooting for, the coach speaks. So that's a little concerning, you know, especially if with his price at 9,700 on DraftKings. But Terry Rozier is a guy that, you know, they will roll out there for as long as he can play. So I like that. Mark Williams was an absolute beast. I like him. 5,800 is still completely reasonable in this matchup after his 41 fantasy points in the last game against Atlanta. Those are the guys I like the most. And then, I mean, there's some fringe plays in here. I don't know what you think about Oscar Thompson.
It's an 11 game slate. I'm going to pass on that, but I hear you.
Yeah, but like those are the kind of like the plays that like nobody are on at this point in the season. So it's those are the sneaky plays.
Biggest ownership we have in this game on DK. This is as of 4:30. You know, we're going to get an ownership boost, I assume, at some point as well as more information comes in. Duran's getting 14%. Alec Burks getting 11% to me. He's the guy that kind of stole Ivey's minutes. Like, when Detroit is theoretically good, Alec Burks is not a part of that plan. Like, I don't think I'm playing Alec Burks. We're giving him 24 minutes, and he's obviously shooting independent. I like Rozier a good bit. We're giving him 35 minutes. I think he's a slight benefactor from Melo having his minutes, you know, a slight hit. What are we giving him, like 32? 31 for LaMelo. You talked about how, you know, they're keeping his minutes down just a little bit coming off his big injury. Williams at 8%. Beef Stew at 7%. Where is okay? Yeah, Williams. Your favorite center in this game? I like them both. Who do you prefer as far as Durant and Williams, all things considered?
Williams. I'm buying on Williams. Dude's a machine. He just needs the minutes. He racks up the blocks, the stocks over on FanDuel and Yahoo. So I love that. His price is cheap on DK. I think the minute they're not going to be splitting minutes. I think I think he's going to get the bulk load of the minutes from now on. So I'm buying there. Another play. I mean, let's see, where is it? Oh, Brandon Miller looks really good.
I mean, how many minutes we get out of Miller off the bench? The rookie.
I think they're going to be ticking up, is what I'm saying. So I'm buying on him. I think he played 25 minutes in the last game. I don't know. This kid's going to be good. So get on board, early, and he's going to be earning more minutes going forward.
Yeah, I mean, he's got to take some away from like JT Thor, which shouldn't theoretically be very hard. We're giving Thor 19, not that you're playing JT Thor. Miller getting 1% for what it's worth. He's not going to be popular at all. And I think like Cunningham's another guy that's just not going to get played. We're looking at 1 or 2% on Cunningham. He smashed game 1 in a tough matchup against Miami. Matchup much easier here. I think he's pretty interesting for tournaments, and it's not hard. If you're running a bunch of lineups, it's really not hard to get above the field on Cunningham. If you just get like 4 or 5%, I think it's kind of sort of somewhat interesting. By the way, speaking of your podcast, the tournament takes, I saw Noto 1/3 of the podcast hanging out in chats. What's up, Noto? Noto's super busy writing basketball content, writing football content, watching his Utah Jazz. He was writing about his where was this kid? He was taking
his Utah Jazz looked pretty poor. Hate that for my guy Noto. Hate that.
Yeah, Kessler was pretty rough game 1, but I think that was due to like them being down, and they probably Kessler's one of those guys who I feel like is like, speaking of football, he's one of those guys that's like game script dependent. Like I like him much more when they're ahead and like defending a lead as opposed to on the comeback, because he's more of a defensive player than an offensive player. I was kind of surprised John Collins played pretty well. I was bearish on John Collins, at least for one game. He was good out the gate. Anything else as far as Detroit, Charlotte?
Yeah, I mean, what more do you want than Cade Cunningham at low ownership, who just got 36 minutes in the opener against Miami, put up 51 fantasy points, had 27 freaking shots, 36 minutes, 35% usage, he had 9 assists, just missed the double-double there. And you're talking low ownership. What's not to love with this play? I'm
thinking about like a single entry team with Cunningham. And maybe Williams as a run back, or possibly Rozier as a run back. It's just nobody's going to play it. Nobody. But he's got to smash. Obviously, you're paying for it. And I don't like to have like my big pieces in at 7:00, just kind of like the way things go down. And news might come later that, all of a sudden I'm going to want to shuffle some pieces around and already have guys locked in. But I
mean, he probably won't do that again, right? Like he probably won't have as good of a game, and he's a very streaky, shooter and player. But like this is his squad. It was great to see him take it over right from day one. So like the upside is there. Obviously there's downside, especially at the price. But like you're at that ownership, it's worth it.
We got Michael in chat. I know he's a Detroit fan, and he says a triple double is definitely in the range of possibilities for Cade in this game.
Fast matchup, sloppy team like Charlotte, like absolutely.
Get over the field in Cunningham. And I'm not the guy that's going to sit here and tout every single player in every single game. I'm going out of my way to say Cunningham was
that's my job. That's my job.
Well, that's when the random dude goes off and say, I mentioned that guy's name. You're welcome. Yeah,
I love it. Okay, so you know what I love? That like screenshots are one thing, and they're absolutely it just gets annoying when you see the same screen, like when they seem like people, big win. I love seeing big wins from my friends. I love it. So I'm fine with that. I'm happy to celebrate in that screenshot. But I love it when they get lower and lower and lower and lower. And it's like the guy doubled up and they're like doing a screenshot. But then what's taken over that low is look here, let me do a screenshot of what I wrote in Discord You know, like I said, Kate Cunningham could smash, and you the screenshot of that, like that's the new screenshot. Like,
ignore all the other stuff I got wrong.
Yeah, ignore the 29 other things that I said.
Breaking news here, Kirkwood. Been an interesting day for Anthony Simons. Midday downgrade to questionable with his thumb, and now he's out for a month to 6 weeks with a thumb. So there you go.
Wow.
Portland, we're going to get a shuffle up in Portland. You thought Portland was bad opening night. Get excited. It's going to be worse. Man, horrendous team. I guess, I don't know how much run is like a guy like Brogdon going to get. Scoot Henderson, I suppose, is probably going to get a bump there. The obvious one is probably Sharp, right? Is it Sharp who gets the bump?
It should be, but like I feel bad. Like Brogdon's a wild card. Like they're just not going to press it in the minutes with his injury history, I think. But you know, I was thinking to myself, man, like poor Brogdon, like 6th man of the year on like NBA contender, like favorite at most points of the season, to now like sitting there
he's going to get traded. He'll get moved somewhere. He's not staying there in Portland. He didn't buy a house. He's renting, and there's no way he's there the entire season.
I mean, it's tough to buy a house right now, though. Granted,
well, for Brogdon, I think I'm not privy to his financials, but I'm pretty sure he can do okay. He can figure it out. By the way, we do have an if then. We actually have that in premium, and the one that gets the biggest boost as far as the biggest DK value is Shaedon Sharp, and then Scoot Henderson as well. The two most appealing options.
And Scoot was awful. He
was worse than Dominating? Dominating was horrendous.
I didn't.
DeAndre Ayton, not good. All right, let's move on. We're going to get an update as far as that, but I think some Portland pieces are going to get pushed up in the official absence of Anthony Simons. By the way, I mentioned the if then, and that's a part of RG Premium, and you're like, hey, I would love to get RG Premium. You can get yourself a week free of RG Premium for free, doing nothing. You don't have to pay for it or nothing. We're doing a giveaway today in the Discord channel, RotoGrinders.com/Discord. Go into the live stream chat channel. Producer Devin has set up, I think he just sort of hit the bell, right? Yeah, hit the thumb. Just hit the thumb, and you're eligible to win yourself 1 week free. He's going to put your name on the wheel. We're going to spin the wheel in about 40 minutes, 6 o'clock on the East Coast, give or take. Partake in that. Get yourself a week free. All the bells, all the whistles, all the sports. Football, baseball, basketball, hockey, anything you can think of with the exception of NASCAR. NASCAR is its own little a la carte thing. It's in its own little world. But and projections and optimizer and everything you can think of, you get it for a week free. Hey, speaking of hitting things, hit that like button, subscribe, turn on those notifications, do all those things. You mentioned Bobby Gomes. You got Andy Means coming on later as well. Also, Chief Mineralogist Kevin Roth. And Roth is it's fun to have him for basketball season. It's always fun to have Roth, but he's building his teams. He's playing along, and it's good to get Roth's perspective because he's just coming from a different spot than the two of us. And he asks questions that are pertinent that we might not even think about because he's thinking, he's on this isn't like an insult, but he's on like a different level when it comes to playing DFS. All right, let's move on here, Kirkwood. The other 7 o'clock game, you mentioned it. It's another one that looks really, really appealing from our perspective, assuming things don't get dicey and don't get away from us. But Memphis is a 5.5-point dog versus the defending champions, the Denver Nuggets. 221.5 is the total. Memphis is just really, really thin, especially on the inside. Projections are going to like them. Tillman's going to play 30, 32, 33 minutes or so, assuming he can dodge foul trouble, assuming this game, does not have a blowout. This is the front end of a back-to-back for Memphis, so if it does somehow get ugly, I would imagine they pull the plug potentially a little bit earlier than normal. But the Memphis side is more interesting here than Denver, I believe. Of course, you can always play Jokic. He's got to put up 70 tonight, basically to justify that roster spot, to justify that salary. How much are you prioritizing Jokic and just Denver in general? Because, nothing really in Denver is popping for me. I guess Gordon's kind of a fill-in that's perfectly fine. Same thing with Porter, perfectly fine, but not really seeking those guys out. What's your thoughts as far as Denver first?
I've seen some sharp money actually come in on, or I was told that it came in on Memphis, which I thought was a little strange, but
I do too.
So that's probably what makes it. That's probably what's sharp. If me and you are, So first of all, people are saying I have frosted tips. I don't have frosted tips, okay? But they're saying that me and you could be in a boy band.
Oh, look at that!
It's 8, but I'll take that.
Did you have frosted tips back in the day, like in the 90s?
Never had frosted tips. Never. I think when I was like real little, I actually squeezed like some lemon in my hair once to see if it would work. And I did that. Like, it's actually crazy. It was 80 degrees here in Boston today. I was over walking my kid on the beach today. Anyways, what would the name be of our boy band if we want to?
That's a good question. And who else would be in it? Would Bobby Gomes be in it? Would Chop be in it? Who else is in our bands?
I mean, Bobby could be in it because he's on our beat. He's on the Bieber. He's on Team Bieber, which I am too. So he could be He could be in it.
All right, let's see if Jack can give us a good name.
Chop's a little too old, I think,
Teeth Miller sees that Chop's the boy band manager. So
yes, yeah. He's got and he also has a lot of ins to the strip clubs and stuff. We could do some crazy, like make it rain after promo stuff. It's what people do now. But anyways, I'm not crazy about the Denver side, although like the minutes seem pretty consistent. Like you know what we're gonna get. Like Nikola, like we can always play Joker, right? Like he should go ham. Aaron Gordon started out really hot. Jamal Murray is fine. Like I think these guys are all fine plays, but I mean the value's on the other side with the Memphis guys.
Yeah, as far as Memphis, we didn't mention it, but obviously Morant's out for the first 25 games or so. Nardug, no Luke Kennard. He's out with a concussion. Steven Adams done with the season. Brandon Clark, we're not going to see him for a big chunk of the season. And even Santi Aldama's out as well. He's got an ankle. So it's not just that they're thin. They're really, really thin on the inside. That's why I think Tillman's a pretty strong play. Again, assuming he can dodge. You're thinking about the upside, right? And of course, he can get in foul trouble. Of course, this game can blow out, but Tillman looks really well positioned, and the price hasn't fully adjusted to what it looks like this super, super solid role for him. Triple J and Bane, the prices are getting bumped up on them. I think especially on FanDuel, they're pretty reactive. But if Memphis is the hang in this game, it's Bane's going to have a ton of usage. Triple J, he's got to score a little bit. Of course, he should get those stocks for you. He can get like 5 or 6 or 7 blocks combined. A little bit more worth on FanDuel, but on DK certainly they play. How are you handling Memphis? And how many Memphis players are you willing to? If you're going to run 3, do you feel like you have to run it back to somebody in Denver? Well, what's the Memphis plan? I don't think you have to run 3. You can run 1 or 2.
Yeah, I mean, I like Smart in this spot. Call me a Boston homer, but 32 minutes is encouraging. Yeah, this should be a game he gets up for. He should fit in really well on this team. Triple J, I want to go back to. Like, I want to play but the thing is, he's going to be extremely chalky again tonight at things, right? Like, I'm thinking.
Well, I got the spinning wheel. I'm hitting refresh. I was trying to pull up the ownership right now, and I'm probably going to get it in a second. But I'll let you know as you keep going. Oh, here we go. For some reason, my lineup HQ was spinning there for a second, but yeah, Memphis, as far as their ownership, as far as their popularity, DK specifically, Triple J, this is for large field tournaments too. An 11-game slate, 24%, which is, like you said, he's kind of sort of like the old Blake Snell. Though people don't know, you're supposed to play Blake Snell when he's not owned, and probably get away from him when he is. Now, different sport, outcomes as far as basketball versus pitchers, but I get it. And there are it can go awry for Triple J. We've certainly seen it before,
especially in this matchup.
Yeah, well, is he going to be crossing with Jokic a ton, or just
he'll be protecting the rim, So it's like
he doesn't back down either. He likes a challenge, and he'll go for the block. He likes the block,
and you can't deny his upside either. So I'm fine with him. I just think there's it's pretty similar to the other night. I don't like any Derrick Rose looked completely washed.
Come on,
completely washed. So I could see minutes trending down with him going forward, but Roddy's going to get a bunch of minutes, but who wants to play him?
Playing Roddy?
Bane is the one with the real upside, but this is a much worse matchup. for him, and he kind of ran beautifully the other night against the Pelicans, but with Triple J being in foul trouble and whatnot. But I'd go back to Triple J. Marcus Smart is my next favorite.
Memphis is like the worst 6 through 10 in the league right now. Like one of the worst. I haven't really done power rankings for it, but just kind of eyeballing it. You mentioned like some of the players, Kenny Lofton, kind of a fun novelty, I suppose. LaRavia is not good. Roddy's, it's not good altogether. And even Williams drawing the start just because you got to play 5. You mentioned Derrick Rose. It's over for him. Good run. The injury was obviously tragic, but all right, let's move on.
I want to add one more thing to the boy band conversation for a new member.
Yes,
it actually this came up in one of our before our football podcast. Noto, back when he had back in the day he had frosted tips, he said, and a puka shell. He used to rock a puka shell necklace, so maybe he's the.
By the way, Derek in chat says the name of the band will be 78904 Degrees, which is a nice play on 98 degrees. I appreciate that. Yeah. Salary cap world, they're having some fun there. For what it's worth, Dean's Dongs will be the name of the band. That seems pretty. I don't.
You gotta get that out there whenever you can. We got.
I don't know who we're marketing this band
is the World Series tonight? Is the World Series?
It is. It's going to be playing in a forest, though. I don't know if it makes the sounds or not because it's Arizona.
If a tree falls,
nobody cares. I'm sorry, nobody. Good luck to Texas and Arizona. I wish your teams well. I suppose. I root for Arizona, but it's Fox is not happy. Let's just say that
we have
Fox
to take the underdog. I think we have to take the underdog, just like every dog just continued to win all playoffs. Yeah, so I'm assuming Arizona's a dog. I've not dug into that. Yeah, they gotta be. OKC and Cleveland. This is another. Again, I think we're front loaded with good games, and at some point we're gonna fall into some a rut where games are not very appealing. But OKC and Cleveland's kind of appealing. 227 is the total. Cleveland is a 4-point favorite here. There's a chance Darius Garland doesn't go. He's currently questionable. And already they're without Jared Allen. Dean Wade, I think he's questionable. I think he was at shoot around. I expect that Wade's going to be back for what it's worth. Nobody played more minutes opening night than Max Strus. Yeah, Mad Max. Former, Heat alum. Evan Mobley, again, it's going to be his world there. The absence of Jared Allen. Mobley looks really strong. Go ahead. What is it with Strus that he's able to play 39 minutes? Like that's what he was the only guy on the Heat that would get monster high 30 minutes. And now he goes over to Cleveland and he gets it's the same treatment. What is it about him? Well, I think Cleveland, part of it is just they're not very deep and they're hurt. So they kind of needed it, right? They're starting Okoro. They're without Rubio for the season. What their bench is we're talking about Yang, LeVert, Ty Jerome. It's rough. I was talking about how bad the 6 through 10 is for Memphis. Cleveland 6 through 10 is not very good either. Their front 5 or their front, I guess, front 4 or so, depending on, is pretty good. But yeah, I think Strus has some versatility, right? But he can hit open threes. He can space. And he was hitting his threes. I'm not necessarily chasing that for what it's worth. I think Mitchell is a really strong play. If Garland doesn't go, we're going to see a ton of ownership on Karis LeVert. How do you feel about that? Is that just kind of lock it in and move on? Well, okay. So what's his minute upside? Karis LeVert? Yeah. I assume 30, 31, 32. Which is just what he got, right? And so he'll actually, right? The upside is probably greater than that, assuming he starts. Will they? He's a guy with massive injury problems. That's the thing. Will they just throw out there for much more? Don Yeezy called Strus the sacrificial lamb. I like that. But I don't think it's crazy to play Strus again with everyone out. He should get the same minutes again. Yeah, he's fine. It's kind of a chase. I don't expect the same outcome. Don't expect 38, 39 minutes. He'll probably play 30 plus, right? I'm checking our projection now as far as what we have for him. And then we're giving Garland 34 here, obviously. And Okoro 28. We're giving Strus 34. Mitchell 36. By the way, if you have the money, and we live in the world of a salary cap, Mitchell's great. Love Mitchell. Just if he's your one big spend,
And again, I think you go to Mitchell more so if Garland is out, but he's still going to get 20% tonight. So like he's one of the more appealing big spends on this slate. Ownership is happening on Cleveland. Mobley 21%, LeVert getting 20%. This is before Garland being ruled out. And by the way, I think it's a better chance than not. He does not play. Was a late day downgrade. They're talking about babying him a little bit. I think he doesn't play. Just my guess. And we'll get the news. I assume we'll get this news before 7:00. But my hunch tells me we're not getting Garland, which is what I'm preparing for. And then how much Cleveland do we get? I mean, I'm not playing Okoro. Do you want to play Okoro? No usage. I suppose he can get a bunch of steals and some threes, but you're banking on kind of outlier games. He'll be out there. He'll play 30 minutes or so, or close to it. You're the Cleveland Cavs. Power rank the Cavs right now with the information we have.
Mobley, number one. Really disappointing game, but this is a great matchup for him with OKC. So I think he smashes tonight. You have to I think Mitchell I would take over LeVert. LeVert is fine. I just don't think he's the upside is going to be that much increase for him in this spot. I think there'll be some extra usage with ball handling and assists and some shots for him, but that Garland would certainly take. But I like him. I think Strus is fine to go back to. I think those are the plays, and Okoro. Yeah, I just don't see upside. I think he's fine. He's filler, but I just don't see a ton of upside with him. I don't see a ton of upside with anyone else, really.
The OKC side, I like these OKC players. I'm bullish on this team. We saw them absolutely wallop the Bulls. They're kind of going the other direction. We'll talk about them soon enough. But they're not getting any ownership at all. SGA is spectacular. I mean, there's a chance, wouldn't shock us, I don't think, if he's the MVP this season. 3% owned just because he's super, super pricey. Nobody else getting any ownership. Holmgren, he's more, I should mention on Fanduel, he's more playable. He's 5'6" over there, and DK is 6'5". Giddey, I like, a little bit too expensive. Williams, I like. I think that's the one that I would be most likely to play as a run back is Jalen Williams. And he's not getting any ownership either, which is kind of interesting. They're kind of like Denver, right? Where there's some good pieces there. It's just they don't really fit builds. Do you agree with that as far as the Thunder?
Yeah, but if we're going to get some chalk, it makes sense to play one guy back with them. And I think that's it's just, well, I think there's three choices there. I think Shea is obviously the preferred, but at that price at 10.6, it's a little tough, but I think he does fine. I think median projection and ceiling is not that big of a difference really with him. I think he's I think you're going to top up to 60 fantasy points would be his absolute top. And at 10.6, that's just okay. I mean, that's good, but can't get it, much higher. I don't think. Giddey, I think for the price has the upside. So I like that. And I think Jalen Williams, it's great that we don't have two Jalen Williams at this point right now because one is injured. I mean, Chet got hurt last game. So people may look at the box score with Chet. He had a lot of hype coming in from preseason and whatnot. And you may not want to play him because of that, but it was more based on the fact that he got dinged up a little bit. So I think Chet is a strong GPP play tonight.
On Fanduel, I mentioned it before as far as Chet having a better price over there. Yeah, he's 5'9" on Fanduel and still not getting a ton of ownership. But I think that's the place to play him, in my opinion. You're still going to play him on DK if you want to add him to your pool if you're running a bunch of lineups. But just looks a little bit better for me on Fanduel. I am running some optimals, by the way. I want to see what they look like now with the information. And for what it's worth, the tricky thing is that Garland right now is hitting optimals, right? He looks like a pretty good play, but I don't know if he plays or not. And again, I said my guess is, let's see, he was in the first optimal, the second optimal. He's not in the third one. The third one does have, like we talked about, two Blazers. We'll talk about the Blazers soon enough if you guys missed it. Anthony Simons, not just out tonight, but out for the next month and a half. Let's see. Evan Mobley is in there, which is not terribly surprising.
I'm
especially with
done.
his power.
I'm announcing that I'm officially done messing with hamstrings.
Yeah, they're kind of annoying.
Because I liked Aaron Jones a little too much in NFL last week.
Oof, me too. Yeah. And they worked in a third running back too. It was like, who's this guy Wilson? I think it was Wilson. Like, who's this Wilson character?
And like when the game on the line, they didn't even go. So like they obviously had like a minutes cap or like a play cap on him, or or else they're just completely brain dead, which is not out of the question because they've been doing. McCarthy did it, and they treat. It seems like LaFleur treats him the same way.
Maybe just be done with the Packers altogether, and it probably wouldn't hurt you because like nobody really has optimal games on the Packers. Hey, the Knicks are in Atlanta tonight. 228 is the total. Atlanta is a 1-point dog here. New York versus Atlanta. As far as who's in and who's out in this one, I don't think we have much, right? Yeah, they're both fully healthy. I'm not going to count Wesley Matthews for Atlanta. This is kind of a catch-me-up game. If you want to shoot for like a 99th percentile outcome for Trae Young, sure. I think Randall's kind of interesting as well. But I don't have a lot in this game. These teams, I don't think they like each other. These franchises don't like each other. They cross paths in the playoffs. Trae Young, it was at like a wrestling event a couple years ago in the Garden and got booed. It was pretty interesting. I saw some clip on the old Twitter. But yeah, I don't have a lot on this game. Murray's got a fine price for Atlanta. He's playable. Jalen Johnson, somebody to monitor going forward. He was one of the bigger surprises opening night, taking a pretty big leap. Have my eye on him. I think he's certainly interesting, I suppose. It's like a cheapie, but I don't have any priorities in this game. Do you?
Knicks look pretty good. Shame they had to lose to my Celtics. Really feel bad for them on that game. But yeah, Randall is the one guy I think on the Knicks that I like the most. I think he's got I think people will shy away from this matchup, but this game's got a nice total. It's 229, 230 total. And I think this could play like sneaky fast. Knicks are obviously a good on the defensive end, but I think this game could kind of shoot out, so it could be sneaky. And the guys you would want would be Randall, Trae, maybe Brunson, but yeah. And I mean, who's DeJounte going to lock down?
Brunson?
Yeah, or quickly when who would they put him on when he's on the floor? Just trying to think.
I mean, they try to hide Trae if they can.
Yeah, I mean, you have to. But yeah, I don't know.
Atlanta just plays so fast, like you said. Like that's New York's getting up in the pace game there for them, and New York plays really slow. So that's the one thing I don't love about Atlanta, kind of going down in pace. So they're also the home team, but some people think the home team somehow like is more likely to dictate the pace or at least make it more their way. I don't know if that's a thing or not. Just kind of one of those things you hear. Yeah, it's just.
It's probably gonna be Sadiq Bey guarding Randall, and I think that's like an incredibly strong matchup for him.
Yeah, and let me see ownership wise. I don't think we're getting much in this game altogether. 8% for Quickly, which seems too high for me. He's got to close. He's got to put 20 points in the bucket. He can do that. Brunson everybody's in the single digits.
He just smashed Boston, for that that 41 fantasy points, and he's cheap. So I don't mind Quickly at all. I think they got to give. It's amazing they don't give him more minutes. Like he's the one they should be pushing like close to 40.
I assume he's not great defensively. I think that's like Grimes is their defensive stopper.
Yeah, and that's Tibbs.
Anything else we should focus on before we move on and talk about the Heat and the Celtics, which I don't think is a very interesting game from a DFS perspective, personally.
No.
218 is the total there. I believe this is the first half of the primetime ESPN doubleheader. Boston is an 8-point favorite versus your Celtics, 8-point favorite versus my Miami Heat, 8 points. The Zinger, Porzingis was awesome opening night. Drew Holiday is kind of cheap. He's cheap, but he's the fourth option on this team, right? Like he should be cheap. With
he's kind of out of sync offensively so far. It looked up, but he was great defensively, and he's playing with a bunch of studs, so he doesn't have to be. I think it'll be work in progress with him on the offensive end, but his price is like you see 6,500, and it's tempting a little bit. But yeah, on this team, it's tough because But where are you going to get an MVP likely MVP winner this season at 2% ownership for 10.5?
Yeah, I mean, why it is though. I mean, obviously the matchup against Miami is not pristine, and he's got to beat all those other guys. It's not even he's got to beat all the other 10K guys essentially. He's fine, but are you really going to play Tatum if you make one lineup tonight? I don't know if he's cheaper now than Yahoo.
No,
but like on DK, you're not going to do it.
I'm not. But if you're making multi lineups, then this is an ownership play. Like he's going to be next to nothing owned tonight. And he just did 60 against the Knicks, which are a tough matchup too.
Can I say that like if Kevin Love is going to be 15% owned, that seems like a terrible idea. I don't understand that.
Fade.
What's that?
Fade.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, we have him starting, and it's sort of a weird thing where Love like went out of his way to say like it was important to him to start. And like we saw him last year many times start and just go away and disappear. He can go and like when he comes out after like his third quarter rotation, he can just go shower and go home because he ain't coming back in. Miami's we'll see. It's obviously their rotations are trickier to predict more so than other teams. It's more of like a game flow thing. It's very fluid. But I just don't like as Kevin Love at 15% owned. Like get out of here. I don't want that. Love Jimmy Butler, obviously, but like I'm not playing Butler tonight. Boston looked awesome on the inside last game. Like Bam. I'm not playing Bam, especially with the plethora of centers tonight. But did you see Kyle Lowry's usage in game one by chance? Amazing.
I mean, he's dust.
It's over. But you want to guess what his usage was?
3%.
1.36.
He did absolutely nothing.
Amazing.
He was working on the cardio, which he needs. So give him some credit for being out there. Yeah, it's over for him. I mean, the time has come for him, I think, unless he makes a strong resurgence as it gets going and gets in better shape, maybe. But yeah, I mean, so the one play in this game, I'm telling you, like Tatum is a stud that can be played at low ownership tonight. He can go absolutely off, and it's fine in any matchup. So he's the one guy, and the other guys on the and Holiday is cheap, but I don't really like him in this game. But Tyler, it would be Hero maybe. Or maybe Bam on the other side if you wanted to, but there's really no point. I think you just play Tatum or nothing.
Do you want to mention one more time a Discord giveaway? If you guys just joined us now, hit that like button, do subscribe, do turn on those notifications. Producer Devin showing off some of our tools. You can have all the tools at your leisure. You can use them, any sport. We're talking basketball, obviously here, but 1 week free. We're going to be pulling that from the wheel in about 15 minutes or so. How do you get yourself nominated? How do you get your name on the board? Just go to the Discord, RotoGrinders.com/Discord. Go to the live stream chat channel and just hit the thumb up right next to where Devin put his post, and your name will pop up on the wheel. And we're going to draw a name in about 15 minutes or so. We talked about Kyle Lowry. His old team is in Chicago. 217 is the total. Toronto is a 2-point dog here. The Bulls are actually favored. Shout out to the Bulls after getting embarrassed opening night, embarrassed so much so they had a players only meeting. They kicked out the coach. Vuk is apparently pretty upset as well. Not great after one game there for Chicago. Just one game. Don't want to overreact, but just throwing it out there. Both these teams are fully healthy. The prices on DK is what is most appealing for Chicago. Dennis Schroeder also, like Toronto is a bad team. Like this guy's playing 30 minutes. Dennis Schroeder should be at best like somebody coming off the bench. Scotty Barnes, solid play as well for Toronto. No Nick Nurse, so minutes take a slight hit for these, the crucial Raptors. I don't like this game. Bad pace, just bad overall environment. But some of the Bulls are really cheap. You got a DeRozan revenge game. He promised. I can't remember the phrasing, but he said we'll be better tonight. Like they better. Like how do you not be? He's super cheap as well for her standards. 7.3 on DK. I like him a good bit. Levine also just 7.1. And Vuk 7.2, but he's going to compete with all those centers. What's your thoughts here, Kirkwood? Because I don't love this game environment. I don't love being attached to too many Bulls, but you make a player cheap enough, I'm in. And I think DeRozan's cheap enough, and I might be in.
Yeah, except he's going to have their best defender, who is going to have OG on him, I would imagine, in this game. So that would be the only down tick for me. I mean, if Vooch is so upset, like, this is a matchup that he could back it up in, but he could also get run off the floor. I think the most interesting guy is Scotty Barnes. The price is still reasonable. Roll increase for sure. Now, I think a lot, everyone, your first thoughts with like Fred FVV out, you're thinking, off this team, you're thinking like, okay, point Scotty, which Nurse would do sometimes. But with Schroeder there, it didn't pan out that way. So Schroeder, I thought he looked pretty damn good, actually. I thought the team looked pretty good too. And so I think we can play Dennis Schroeder tonight at 5,600.
He's fine.
I mean, he took 17 shots. He had a bunch of assists. He was, he played pretty well, I thought. So I like him. But Barnes is the guy, just the upside guy, and that we were all looking forward to this season. But so you got to keep monitoring how, if we ever get like point Barnes, he's going to absolutely nuke.
Yeah.
Slates this year, but he should take a big leap this season. So I definitely like him. 6,900 price tag is nice. And then other than that, I don't really. I mean, I guess Vooch or Levine, but I think it's fade DeRozan.
So, like, I was going to ask, like, how much you care in different sports. Obviously, like, people talk about cornerback, wide receiver matchups, and there's basketball's kind of positionless. There's a lot of stuff in transition. So it's like, how much do you care about the matchup? And like you're saying, you care about it enough that you're going to dock DeRozan because he's going to cross with OG.
Yeah, I prescribe by the I know better. That's how I play my I mean, I take stands. Yeah. That's what I do. But like,
I do too sometimes.
I
for better or worse.
Like that's I think there's people will say, oh, you don't have to watch sports, you don't have to watch anything, it's all in the numbers, blah blah blah. I think like it's definitely like numbers and tools and resources that you have, but I think there's also a massive amount of I know ball is the big, what everyone likes to say, that you can pick up watching games or being ahead or getting coach speak and all these little things that aren't factored in a lot, that are like something you see in a matchup. So that's how I play. But so I'm not afraid to take a stand.
When you say people, name names, you're talking about Blender, right?
No, I'm not talking about Blender. I'm talking about this is industry wide.
Yeah. And it works for some people too. Some people probably don't watch a lick of basketball. And they still do well.
They just won $1 million. Like they've won. They hit a million maker recently, and has no idea who anybody is. But and that happens. The lineup he hit it with was terrible, but it won. This is not RG. This is not like I say million maker, and I'm like skating because this is not Squirrel. Squirrel watches sports. Like Squirrel is a beast. This is completely outside of RG. Somebody I know.
By the way, the note on the update on Garland, very questionable. Very questionable. Highly questionable. Okay. He's not playing tonight, Garland. He's not playing. I mean, it's not official, but he's not playing. I think you're supposed to play as if he's not playing tonight, which means it's going to be LeVert season. Mitchell's going to be very popular. It's going to be, and Strus, all these guys kind of get bumped up. You're not going to play Strus any more minutes, but he might get a couple extra shots up. Oh boy. Yeah. So just keep an eye on that. We'll let you know as far as the news flow, but it seems pretty likely we do not see Garland tonight. Let's move on. Houston, San Antonio, 225 is the total. San Antonio is a 3-point favorite. Wembanyama and the Spurs take on FEV, Freddie VanVleet, and the Rockets. The Rockets were absolutely horrific opening night, got completely walloped. But we saw Şengün smash in the time he was out there in the first half. Freddie wasn't great. Green wasn't great. Jabari wasn't great. A lot of hype on Jabari taking a step forward this year. Just wanted to note that I thought this was interesting. We saw game one with San Antonio and Dallas, and San Antonio and Dallas played at the second fastest pace opening night, and Dallas plays really slow. They were the third slowest team last season. So I think that's because San Antonio plays fast, and I think that Houston is going to have the opportunity to play in a really fast-paced game with San Antonio. So if we could just get the ball to go in the bucket, I think there's some potential value on the Rockets tonight. I think we get a bounce-back game from FVV. Şengün looks a really, really strong play tonight at center. The Jabari Smith, speaking of matchups, Kirkwood, like I don't love him being covered by Wembanyama. That doesn't feel good. All those are arms and legs. Oh, man, there's only 2 of each, which feels like there's more. Yeah, start with the Rockets and jump over to the Spurs. And by the way, just a heads up, we got to pick up the pace a little bit because it's an 11-gamer. We yielded about 20 minutes or so. But, yeah, Rockets.
It's all right. This is early. We're in early season form. We've got the GOAT Andy Means coming on to take you home on crunch time. Bobby's going to be there. They got you. So whatever you miss, you'll be fine.
Sure.
But I hear you. But the Spurs are going to be ridiculous. I was all in on Wemby the other night, which stunk for me. But I mean, I buy the hype with this guy.
So do I.
But like, and then the reality is like it's going to be easy to get this guy in foul trouble if teams like actually go out of their way to try to get him in foul trouble. I mean, he's just too big. But like ridiculous upside. I wonder the minute upside I think they'll probably cap him always, regardless of foul trouble. Maybe he can get up to 30, but I don't see like them playing him much more than that. But we'll see how it pans out. But like, you know who was good? Zach Collins. His role is going to be very good on this team. And
he's fine.
Yeah, nobody wants to play a guy with his goofy looking headband out there, you know. Like,
this is why the guys don't watch the games. They couldn't get Zach Collins out of a lineup. They don't know who he is. So it's like you got to dock okay.
You got to dock at least a point for a goofy looking headband on a white dude out there. You know, Jeremy Sochan. His role is awesome. I think he's not an ideal point, but he's running point, and he's on this team plays so insanely fast, and he got 25% usage in the game. I think this is a great matchup for him with Houston. I feel bad that my guy Chop, his team is, you know, he had a lot of he was all excited about Van Vliet, and then our former leftover coach, but they certainly look forward. We'll see how they come around. But this all the Spurs tonight. Like if you can, you know, I like Sochan, I like Zach Collins, I like Vassell. Vassell is going to have some monster games when he's lighting it up. Yeah, I mean, this should be a good game for. We'll see how Wemby, but this should be a good bounce back game. I mean, this could be block party time. This could be block party time tonight. So at least on FanDuel. Sochan, the Zohan, and I'm sorry, I pronounced the C. I don't. He's got dyed hair. I watch him every night.
I like that because then you know which one he is. Like it's so much. Like if you're watching on the quad box, or like we were watching. He's easy to spot. It's like So it's like it makes it easier to follow. Certain players obviously stand out more than others, but okay. Anything else as far as Houston and San Antonio?
On Houston, Şengün, definitely. I think the role is just they're going right through him, and there was a tough game in the last one. He still got a bunch of minutes. I think he's the play tonight.
Producer Devin is trolling me in the chat saying I sound like such an old man. I guess for multiple reasons.
I like it when I can see my players in the field. I like being able to pick them out.
Is that the voice I sound? Oh God, I feel terrible if I sound anything like that. I know you're doing a bit.
I can't hear my own voice. Yeah, no, I'm way too nasally for myself.
Since we have you, Devin, are we knocking out the we're gonna spin the wheel here now, or what?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do this quick because you guys are still a little behind schedule. I think we have one more to add to the list here. Eagles Nation got it in at the last minute.
All right. No more bets if we're spinning the roulette wheel.
No more bets. Feel free to take side bets on what color it'll be.
Kirk, are you a roulette guy? I think you're smart. You're too smart for roulette, aren't you? I can't lie. It's the first when I was my first casino experiences when I was, I'd end up going black or red. Just, hey, can't be 7 in a row. Are you kidding me?
It can.
Let me tell you, it certainly can.
Reds do.
All right.
I've graduated to Baccarat now, though. So.
Oh, there you go. Oh boy. Did you lock in a color here, Kirkwood? I guess it's too late now. No more bets.
Too late. Yep. Ender.
Devin, you're going to hook him up, I suppose.
Yep. I will reach out to you in Discord, and I will dip out so you guys can finish up the slate here.
Sweet. Yeah. Kirkwood, this is one of my favorite game stacks here. I don't know. There's no really clear and obvious amazing game, all things considered, that checks every single box for me. But I do like this San Antonio-Houston game. FEV and Şengün, maybe Sohan and Collins, Sohan and Vassell. Wembanyama I'd love to get to, but it's just tough. But I do like this as a little bit of a 2-1 or a 2-2 game stack. Like I talked about that pace. I like that the pace that San Antonio ran in game one, and I think Houston can run with them as well. You got anything else before we move on? We still have 4 more games. Crunch time coming in about 15 minutes or so. Anything else we need to stress, or shall we move on?
Yeah, I agree with Javon Town and chat. Love Wemby on FanDuel tonight. I think that's where you play him tonight. But
yeah, one of those 7 stock games is going to come, right? It's going to happen. If not tonight, soon enough. Brooklyn and Dallas. 231 is the total. Dallas is a 6-point favorite. Brooklyn is dealing with some injuries, which makes them pretty appealing. No Claxton. Cam Johnson is questionable. They do have a lot of dudes, though. They just have a lot of guys. And also, Jacques Vaughn is annoying from a DFS perspective because he's happy to just disperse minutes for all his players. Daron Sharp looks like a really, really strong play. I'm a little bit concerned that the minutes might not be what we're expecting or hoping for. He's a really strong fantasy point rated player. We are projecting him to start. But Dallas is the kind of opponent where you can get small against really fast if you want to. They could close with Ben Simmons at the 5, and it wouldn't shock us. What are we doing with that Daron Sharp? And he's also center and center only on DK. So he's taking up that center spot. No versatility when it comes to power forward. Start with him and then kind of branch out because it could get a little bit more interesting if Cam Johnson doesn't go. Maybe Cam Thomas would get unleashed, but they have guys, right? They have DFS. They have Royce O'Neal. They have DSJ. Lonnie Walker if they need him, right? So there's plenty of dudes. So how are we handling Brooklyn, especially with 8:30 on the East Coast? We're probably not going to have the Cam Johnson information until maybe 7 at the earliest.
Yeah, I think at min price, starting center, I think the Mavs are going to play a little faster this year. I think they're just going to be forced to. They're not. I don't think they're a very strong team. So and Lively gives them a little bit of burst that they're running out there at center. So I think you play Sharp. I'm not expecting him to absolutely nuke or anything like that, but I mean, he's just so dirt cheap starting. You're gonna get there's a bunch of rebound block potential, some easy buckets. So I think we just play him. I think this is the value tonight. Other
you think he closes?
I don't know. So, I mean, I could see this game going a little bit smaller, but I'm just not sure.
Yeah, I'm a little concerned he doesn't close, but like you said, he is cheap enough where he probably doesn't have to, and there's a chance he doesn't even start. That's possible too. But I think either way, he probably gets at least 20 minutes. And he's a good fantasy point minute player, so he probably doesn't kill you.
Yeah, I would bet on him starting, though.
Yeah. I think it's likely, but wouldn't shock me if he doesn't somehow.
Yep. I think the other net would be Bridges would be the guy. You get a little Kyrie revenge on the other end. I think Simmons is fine. I think it's crazy. So all that, how much stuff did we see on Twitter and preseason and stuff? A video of Ben working on his shot, right? You saw a ton of that, right?
Only once. We see it.
He's literally the exact same as he ever been. He's scared to shoot. He can't shoot. He misses his easy layups and stuff, but he's gonna rack up. I think he played pretty well. I think he's gonna be fine.
They limited his minutes, right? 10 boards, 9 assists. He only took 6 shots, but I think he played 25 minutes or so.
Yeah, 23 minutes.
Yeah. Maybe he gets a little bit of a boost there, and he's cheap enough. And theoretically he can get you a cheap triple-double. I suppose he can score 10 points. It's possible. Yeah, and again, I think there's a chance he plays some center tonight in some small ball here versus Dallas. So I'm okay with Simmons, but he's not a fun guy to watch if you're watching the games. He's frustrating, as you're kind of alluding to. The Dallas side, Luka is spectacular. They did, I don't want to say baby him, but they cut his minutes a little bit, just a little bit, down to 34 or so opening night. He's dealing with, is that a thigh? I think it's what he's dealing with. They pulled him at the, typically they let him play the entire first, the entire third, and they pulled him a little bit early. But even still, if you get 35, 36 minutes out of Luka, he should be fine. It's just a matter of how do you make him work from salary perspective. We talked about Donovan Mitchell, something like that. We talked about SGA. You talked about Tatum. We talked about some other expensive pieces. If you have one big spend, do you want it to be Luka? Is that going to pay off? And beyond that, what else is there on Dallas? Because I don't think there's much.
Yeah, I think Luka is probably. Yeah, I want it to be Luka. I'm totally good with him being the high spend tonight. And I like this game. I think this is a good matchup for Luka. So this is certainly a team that he can excel against. I mean, are they going to put Ben on him right from the get-go?
I don't know.
Luka is a guy I really don't care about with that.
He'll get the job done. We've seen many teams try different strategies, and he'll still find ways to get his fantasy points.
Yeah. And there's also, Bridges too as well. So, I mean, this is a tough matchup, from at least from an individual standpoint, but I'm fine. Luka excels in this. He is this entire team now. So him and Kyrie, you get the Kyrie revenge.
Yeah, but nobody's playing him for what it's worth. I don't think I'm getting there. I have a hard time justifying it. I don't play a ton of lineups. I'm guessing you're not. If you're playing 3 lineups, you're probably not playing Kyrie. You're just mentioning it, but it's there, I guess.
Mentioning it so we can get a little blurb that if he goes off, I mean, little screenshot.
He said it.
Or something. Yeah.
All right,
but yeah, I think it's Luka. Sharp is a must. Bridges would be my my other net. But yeah,
and if Cam Johnson doesn't go, is there one guy? Actually, you know what? We do have this in the if then. I want to see if there's. It's a collection of players, so I don't think there's anybody that really hits the hardest, right? Who gets the biggest boost if we see Cam Johnson out?
Nobody.
Isn't that weird, right? Because it's going to be a little bit more for Cam Thomas, a little bit more for
because they have so many. They have guys just like him. It's. I don't think it moves the needle. I don't think Cam Johnson moves the needle very much.
Clippers, Jazz, 228 is the total. The Jazz are 4.5 point dogs here versus the Clippers. I don't think this game is going to be terribly popular. This just feels like a catch-me-up game. We saw John Collins play good opening night. We saw Kessler not play great. They were playing catch-up. THT was horrific. We talked about that, myself and Bobby, how dicey that could be. I assume he's going to continue starting, but he is certainly dicey. Not somebody I trust a heck of a lot. They are fully healthy. They have other options. None of them are great. The Clippers are fully healthy with the exception of Terrence Mann is not playing, and I think Bones Highland's got an ankle. He's questionable, but their big three of Westbrook, George, and Leonard, they're good to go. I believe, is this the front end of a back-to-back for the Clippers? I don't know how much that matters. As far as I know, everybody's going to be playing tonight. We're expecting Covington to start. This is another team where, who cares? Because he's going to have his usage will be so low, and there's so many guys that can kind of shuffle in and out. I don't love this game. I don't like a lot in this game. What do you like in this game, if anything?
Yeah, me either. I think Russell Westbrook is playable. Now this goes back. He's always had that fire against the Jazz. Back when they were two good squads going at it. But I think that he's gonna do some damage in good matchups this season, and he looked pretty good the other night. So, and it's early season with him, so he's someone on my radar, but I'm not in love with it. Taylor Horn-Tucker projects pretty well, but man, he was so brutal, and I think you could see potentially other guys eat into his role. But he did have a strong preseason, And it was just one game, so we'll see how this shakes out. But yeah, I'm not in love with this game either.
Biggest projection, THT at 10% currently on DK at 5.1K. I think Kessler is interesting to get a bounce back game at 5.5, but again, not to beat the belabor the points. Centers, just you got to get those centers right. Center and center only, but 5.5, there's certainly some meat in that bone. We've seen Kessler have 12 and 15 and 5-6 stocks in a game and really smash that price. Okay, we got 2 games left.
Jordan Clarkson, interesting for sure. When they didn't close with THT, and he got 31 minutes, he gets buckets when he's out there, so he could have some upside.
Warriors Kings. This will probably be a lot of fun. Sacramento looking to light the beam here tonight versus the Warriors. They're 3-point favorites at home. Draymond is still out for the Warriors. Otherwise, they're clean and good to go. Sacramento still just without Trey Lyles. I'm not chasing the Harrison Barnes game. Good for Harry Barnes, but
he was ridiculous. I was so mad at that game. I can't remember, who did they play?
Utah, was it?
Why? I mean, why was I mad? I had somebody. I had Saboner.
Yeah, and so Harry Barnes just kept making a bunch of threes. Yeah.
Oh, it was infuriating.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, fountain of youth maybe. But yeah, you don't buy that. Chris Paul, good role on the Warriors side. Cheap. So
24 potential assists, I believe I saw for Chris Paul on opening night. That's pretty strong. I think Chris Paul is kind of interesting. And also Kevon Looney, not a high upside center, but when these teams matched up last year in the playoffs, he averaged 15 or 16 boards per game. He dominated the glass in that game, and also no Draymond. So I was looking at player prop stuff and alt numbers on Kevon Looney. I'm like, what's kind of interesting? 14, 16 rebounds tonight. I can see it happening. Kevon Looney's kind of sort of someone interesting. We did see Wiggins get iced out last game. Kuminga only played 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes in the first half. He ended up closing because Wiggins was so bad. He's really cheap, but I think there's some fragility. He certainly could bounce back. Theoretically, it's probably a cheap price for Wiggins at 5.7, but there's no guarantee he is closing tonight. We saw Kerr go with Kuminga last game. Fox is certainly interesting. Curry, of course, duh. You can always play Curry. You can always bang, 7, 8, 9, 10 threes on a given night. And Keegan Murray is one of those guys that we're expecting to take a step forward this season as well. Your favorite players on each side of this game is who, all things considered?
I like Paul because of the role and the price. I like Curry for the upside is my favorite. I like Looney for they played him on Sabonis a bunch in the playoffs. It's nice to see, like you said, it was great to see him get 28 minutes. You're seeing right off the bat, they're willing to go up in minutes with Draymond out. So I do like Looney with you. On the, and then you could always play Sabonis, but at absolutely no ownership. But probably, I guess, De'Aaron Fox I like better in this spot.
By the way, I just took a peek at Lineup HQ. There's been an update. It looks like the projection team made a call, and they kicked Garland out of projections. Now, he's not officially ruled out. He's officially very questionable, in air quotes, but I want to see how that changes things. And LeVert's projection now jumps to 33 fantasy points, 34 minutes at 4.9K on DK. And ownership has not been updated, but he's going to be very, very popular if that is the situation. Mitchell looks really strong as well. Yeah, I just ran some optimals, and the only person hitting my ceiling with these new projections is Karis LeVert. Number 2 is Day'Ron Sharpe. Number 3, Donovan Mitchell, another Cavalier. Number 4, Evan Mobley, another Cavalier. So, yeah, lots of Cavs in the projections, assuming that it kind of goes our way when it comes to Garland being ruled out. So I saw a question in chat asking about, can you skip the first 2 games? I like the Memphis side. This Cleveland game's at 7:30. I don't think you can skip all 3 of those. And they're trying to buy information, buy news, and I like that thought process, but there's not a ton of news out there that we know of that we're waiting for. Cam Johnson, I suppose. But otherwise, anything else would be a surprise. It's the NBA, it's the association, so something can happen. But I don't think I'm like going out of my way to skip the 7 o'clock games. What about yourself?
Yeah, but I don't think it's terrible either way. I think Memphis is fine, but it's kind of chalk that's in a tougher matchup. And we both like this Detroit Charlotte game for some plays for GPP side, but I don't think it's going to kill you. So I think it's fine either way.
Last game before crunch time crew comes in, we're up against the clock. Orlando versus Portland, 220 is the total. Portland is horrendous. They're 4 5-point dogs here at home versus the Magic. We saw Anthony Simons is now out for the next month and a half. We're expecting Scoot Henderson, Shaden Sharp, Thibault, Jeremy Grant, and dominating DeAndre Ayton to draw the start there for Portland against the Magic. I'll just yield to you your thoughts as far as Orlando and Portland. Go for it.
I mean, I haven't updated because, I came to the show. I haven't had everything updated for projections, but I have to imagine that Sharp looks like a phenomenal play. And what are we looking at with Brogdon? That's like I just don't think they're going to run him out for a ton of minutes. So
we're giving him 25 minutes, 27 fantasy points at 5.2K. Perfectly fine, but it's tough to predict, and I don't think they push him too hard because eventually, I don't want to say showcase game, but eventually they're going to move him somewhere. You have to imagine. Scoot is getting a fair bit of ownership, and we're giving him 33 fantasy points at 5.9K, which is perfectly fine. And you mentioned Shaden Sharp also getting 30 fantasy points at 33 minutes. We're assuming he jumps in that starting lineup, so he's got some versatility as well, not just shooting guard, but small forward eligible. I
totally overlooked Jeremy Grant. Like he'll the ball he'll be facilitating. I know it's never fun with him, but he should see massive usage. He should see massive minutes. I think this game could be pretty fun regardless, at least on the lack of defense front in this game.
Yeah.
So
you like anybody in the Magic?
Wendell Carter Jr. potentially. 6K seems pretty good. Also, like
center only is the problem.
Yeah. Trying to look right now. Wagner, bronze.
Yeah, he's getting the biggest bump. He's the biggest ownership at 11% at 6.5K. I think Fultz is fine. Bencaro, I think he's better on FanDuel than DK. He's 8-2 on DK. It's fine, but you'd think you can take advantage of this Portland defense. We talked about 6 through 10 from some of these other teams. The 6 through 10 for Portland is horrendous. It's so bad. I want to like the Magic guys more, and maybe I'm just wrong for not liking them more, but they're kind of on the outside looking in for me, which I don't feel great about, but that's where the slate is.
Wendell Carter's gonna have a block party.
Okay, but is he going to be better than right? He's got to beat all the other centers we talked about. Is he a better player than Evan Mobley? Probably not. Right? Doesn't mean he can't rise in a 1-game sample. Triple J we talked about. Şengün we talked about at center. All the way back to the 7 o'clock games, we talked about the possibility of Jalen Durant, even Mark Williams on the other side. Center is just loaded. So that's the thing. I don't know how much I want, and it doesn't take a lot to get over the field on it. But if only making a couple lineups, I'm probably not getting there in Carter. But I'm not. At the same time, I would not discourage it. Crunch time should be coming in shortly. I believe it's coming in now. It's Kevin Roth. You got Bobby Gomes. Bobby Gomes, of course, from the People's Show. Sunday
Boston hater. Boston hater, Bobby Gomes. Boston Celtics hater, Bobby Gomes.
That is true.
Bobby...
Boston Celtics hater. That is true. Can you hear me?
Well, he doesn't. It messes with his traffic. Is the problem, right? Are you right next to the arena and people want to go into the game and they're tailgating in your backyard?
Roth buried me the other night. He told me to go all in on Wemby.
No, these are lies. No, I said sample the Wemby. Have a sample of the Wemby, and I crushed that night, so I couldn't have buried you.
Roth, how you been doing so far this season? You said the other night you've been crushing out the gates. I'm assuming I like how you play every single night, and I like how you sort of you're building along and asking questions, and you probably ask questions that we don't really think about because you're coming at it from a different perspective. But how has the season treated you so far?
That was a really nice way of saying I'm an idiot. Yeah, that was good.
No,
No, I've the season's been awesome. I've been crushing. I'm building more lineups than ever, and it's just it's going great. And I fully expect I have the nuts tonight. I have the nuts tonight. Yes, already built, locked in. I'm winning my first tournament of the year tonight.
You don't need any news or anything. You feel like you're just gonna hit the lock button and you're gonna go put a movie on or something like that. Not even watch the notifications popping up on your phone.
I'm gonna spend the money that I'm gonna win already because that's how confident I am in the squad.
Well, you got to give it out because my guy Budho really needs the nuts tonight.
Okay, I'll give you some
can't
plays.
lose with more lineups, Rob.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. So far, that's actually been working for me, which is dangerous. I just don't know how you don't do a Şengün and Sohan run back. I don't know how you don't pair those guys together. They're both going to have a triple double tonight. You got to do it.
Get Freddie on that lineup too. Get a little FEV in your life, man.
Yep. Get a little stack going. Jabari Smith underpriced there. You get some Brunson. He's 7'5". Brunson's going.
No, you
55.
throw in a Tatum. You throw in my guy Tatum, and then
it's easy peasy.
Nobody's playing any of those guys. Like Brunson and Tatum are going to go completely unowned. Is Andy here as well? Is he coming in? Do I not see him in camp for some reason?
He got the promotion. He's our boss now, so he just shows up when he wants. It's wild how that works.
I will give the official update. He is waiting on his computer to finish restarting, so it should be any minute now. So
okay, yeah, I wanted to throw it to the crossover. I wanted myself and Kirkwood to step aside and let the crunch time start, but I wasn't sure if it was some reason why I didn't see Andy's face popping up, but he will be here momentarily.
Should be here very soon. Yeah,
he's doing his first restart of the year, probably.
That's right. You got to dust the computer off.
Devin did send me a message before the show. He said, restart your computer. So he anticipated potential problems, and I did restart my computer, and we're all good to go. Kirkwood, give me something. Who's breaking the slate? Give me something ambitious. Let's be ambitious. Give me a 5% or less. Plant the flag. Who do you like tonight?
I mean, how can you not play some Cade Cunningham at 3% ownership?
Stole mine.
The role that he has. So there's one for you. You want another one since or are you good?
He's a great play also because people are going to play Mitchell. Mitchell's going to get a ton of ownership, same position. I love that. Give me one more. Sure, why not?
I already gave nobody's going to play Tatum tonight. This guy, he's a lock for MVP this season. So let's go. I'm just trying to get Bobby going personally.
But he's not an alpha. I'm sure that's what Bobby's thinking. He doesn't have the killer instinct when it matters.
He doesn't have the killer
Bobby's
instinct. Not an automatic. He's games.
I'm not going to mess up traffic. He's going to mess up traffic.
Freddie VanVleet. I'll say Freddie. Freddie bounces back tonight. I'll throw that one out to the people. I like that Houston-San Antonio game stack. We're going to have Roth host Crunch Time with Bobby Gomes. Andy Means on layaways coming in shortly. That was Kirkwood. That was Dean. That was producer Devin. Now it's the start of the Fanduel-sponsored Crunch Time. Roth, take it away.
It starts right now. Good stuff. As always, welcome to it, ladies and gentlemen. This is indeed Crunch Time. It is sponsored by Fanduel, and it is the show where we bring on eventually two of the sharpest minds in the biz. Right now, though, we got my guy Bobby Gomes hanging with us. What's up? Are you as confident in this slate as I am in this slate?
Yeah, I really like this slate. I think I have a good feel for it. So excited to get on and talk about it. Waiting for Meansy. Definitely need Meansy's genius for NBA. So yeah.
I mean, let's not genius. Let's not overdo it.
Meansy knows his stuff, man. He definitely knows his stuff.
No, and I do think it's an interesting slate. The last full slate we had was kind of broken. Everybody was too cheap, especially on the DK side. And now those price adjustments have been made, and this one is a little more last time you were getting a 10K Luka and superstars, dirt cheap, and that's not the case this time. So I think it'll be interesting to see where we end up here. Do you want to kind of dive into some content over on FanDuel while we wait for Meansy's 10-year-old computer to boot up here?
Yeah, we could talk some FD or we could talk some DK, whatever you kind of prefer.
Yeah, let's start with FanDuel. For those who are not aware, this show is sponsored by FanDuel. You can bet $5 on any money line. You get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins, and All customers get a profit boost every day. Bonus bets are for new users in Arizona, Colorado, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Louisiana, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, and Wyoming. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 and up. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Shout out to our sponsor, Fanduel, for keeping this show free for you guys. We did just get some news. Cam Johnson ruled out, and I don't know what that means for us or if I should care. Any thoughts there?
In terms of Cam, not a ton in terms of Cam Johnson. I'm more waiting. We have Garland ruled out, so in the Portland news, that's going to be the news that I'm mainly focused on. But yeah, not a ton for the Nets. I'd like to see a starting lineup first.
Okay, fair enough. Well, let's dive into some FanDuel content. I mentioned the show is sponsored by FanDuel, so we like to start there. Hey, look who the cat dragged in. Just on time means you made it.
Just on time.
We're still doing 30 minutes before lock, right?
Yeah. You nailed it. You got here 5-6 minutes early. Good job, bud.
Okay.
How you doing, Means? Welcome.
I'm doing all right. How are you guys doing?
Glorious. I got the nuts, Means. Like I'm winning the tournament tonight.
You're just winning everything out here, so we're gonna listen to you. Why am I even here?
I feel pretty confident, but we do want to dive into content. We've been kind of BSing for the last 5-10 minutes, so it was for you, yeah. The stall is over with, though. The content begins. Means let's start on FanDuel. And Bobby, I still want your takes, of course. We'll come to you for some tournament thoughts in just a bit.
Yep.
Okay, yeah. Got me thrown right in here. Hold on one second.
I know. I'm not going to give you a single minute to.
This is literally the first tab I pulled up is the StreamYard. So on FanDuel, I have Wemby tagged again. So like with Wemby, he got in foul trouble and still, he only played 23 minutes. I'm guessing he would have been around like the 30 mark, which I think is last I looked, we were like 28, 29, 30. So I have him tagged. I have your boy Şengün tagged, Roth.
Gonna freaking crush tonight.
Who will probably see a little Wemby in the paint. And then I have Jaylen Brown. So like Jaylen Brown, like if you look at the end of last regular season, he was like a 8 or 9K player. And obviously they have Zinger there now. They have Drew Holiday there now. So a different roster and a terrible game environment. But like, this is not a 6.9K player. So I like you're probably a bad game from him means you're probably okay. And like a really good game from him means you're getting like in the 40s, I would feel like, or maybe even 50. So like
50. Yeah, really. He can absolutely get in the 50s if he has a big game. Yeah.
So I like him. Those are the three guys I would be building around. As far as like position by position stuff, obviously Van Vliet is popping big time. He's 7K, great matchup. I feel somewhat similar to this than I did on some of those guys on Wednesday, where like it makes sense. Like it makes sense why he projects well. It makes sense why his ownership is so high, but like it also makes sense to not play into that ownership. So. There's a lot of unknowns still with Houston. Like they have new pieces as well, new coach. Like we still don't like if you look at how Boston used to play under Udoka, they played slow, man. They played grinded out games. So I would not be playing into that. But if you're playing cash games, yeah, sure, fire them up. Like the Portland stuff is where I think you really want to start with Brogdon and Scoot with Simons out. So I would start there. I would start there as far as like tournament builds. I would start with Van Vliet and cash game builds, and I'd play probably one of the Portland guys in tournament builds. I don't think I'd play those two guys together. I'll let Bobby speak to more of that in a little bit. Those are the main options here for me at point guard. Moving over to shooting guard. And Fox, I wanted to mention it. I almost talked about him a little bit in Expert Survey Day, but he's 8-4, great game environment. I think he has the far superior like micro matchup in against the Warriors. Looney's handled Sabonis pretty well, so I would be looking at Fox at that price. I'd get a pretty good discount. I don't think anyone is like really paying up at point guard past Van Vliet, like when we're talking about really big ownership. So I wanted to mention him. And then shooting guard, Jalen Green. He has point guard eligibility if you need it to. I obviously talked about Jaylen Brown already. Dylan Brooks, another guy from that Houston-San Antonio game, is going to be a pretty popular game. Obviously, I've already mentioned like 5 people, it feels like, and we're 2 positions in. So did we get in my scramble, did we get Garland news yet? I know the projections team was working on maybe moving an if then in for Garland. Has that news broke? You guys know?
I didn't see anything on it.
The projections team removed him. I haven't seen any news. We did get Cam Johnson being ruled out though.
Okay. Yeah, the
very
quote from, yeah, that was it. Yeah, the very questionable was what made them remove him. So if he's out, LeVert's going to look pretty good at 5'7". Shaedon Sharp at 5'7". I think I slightly prefer, or I should say I slightly prefer LeVert to Sharp if Garland is out. I prefer Sharp over LeVert if Garland is in. I love Levine tonight. Like, he played 24 minutes or whatever, basically missed. He got his 3rd foul like a couple minutes into the 2nd quarter. They stagger him, so he would come out a little bit in the 2nd quarter and then come back in to finish it, but he just missed like 9 straight minutes because he had 3 fouls. And then the game blew out. So I think he could easily play 35 minutes tonight. And he played like 24. So like, and I think we have him at like 30. Last I looked, we had him like 32 or 33. So if you're in tournament builds, I'd pop him up a little bit, a couple minutes more. I really like him. And I'll keep it moving here. Let's see. I guess the only guys like Clay, but let me keep moving real quick to keep this show going. It's small forward as far as anybody who I didn't already mention, because a lot of these guys have small forward shooting guard, like Jaylen, Dylan Brooks, LeVert. I would say Paolo at 7'3". Royce O'Neal is probably going to look a little better with the Cam Johnson news. Can't say I love playing that dude, so I would much rather play like Dylan Brooks for 400 more. Yeah, not a lot here. I'm guessing one of the Clippers guys will be okay tonight. Kawhi and PG, same price, but just not interested in playing mini Clippers, honestly. So yeah, a lot of the same names. I'm going to go to power forward. All right, so this position is pretty loaded. Similar names we talked about on Wednesday. Jabari Smith, Evan Mobley, Jaren Jackson, Zach Collins. I like Jeremy Grant a decent bit. He's 6'8". Yeah, that's about it. It's like cash games, I would say definitely Jabari first. Mobley was a letdown. I'm curious to see if ownership actually follows him based on how bad he sucked on Wednesday, because we have him at 40%. It's one of those things where if projections or recency bias wins out, I'm guessing he's still going to be pretty popular. Yeah. I would say between Mobley and Jaren Jackson, I think Jaren Jackson has a higher ceiling than Mobley, honestly. All things equal. I mean, everything's not equal, but you're getting – we got JJJ at basically half the ownership as Mobley, and I mean he's 600 more, but neither of those guys played well on Wednesday, and I would still play Jaren Jackson in tournaments over 40%. Goon. Again, one of those things where it's still early in the process. We know he's a good per minute guy. He obviously played really well in 28, 30 minutes on Wednesday and missed out on a handful of minutes because of the blowout. So I still like him a lot. Matchup is really good. Like I'm guessing people are going to think the matchup's not good because like, oh my God, Wembanyama's on the team. He's so tall. But like, they're not good defenders. They're a young team. They play fast and they're just not good defensively. So like, it's still a really good matchup. And that's why Houston has at least a decent team total. So I would go Şengün over, especially ownership. I would go Şengün over Mobley in tournaments. I really like Looney tonight. I talked about how he's matched up well against Sabonis. I really like him tonight I think that besides Jabari maybe at power forward, I think everyone's going to spin down in the backcourt for like these Portland guys. And kind of similar with what we talked about on Wednesday, that there's not a ton you have to spend up for, especially on FanDuel with their scoring system. So I think paying down at center will be unique, which isn't always the case. But I really like Looney tonight. So, I didn't even mention Wemby. So, yeah. I mean, I talked about him at the top, but I mean, exact same situation. Like he played probably 8 minutes less than he should have. Still got 28 FanDuel points. I think he ran a little. I don't want to say he ran bad, but he only had 3 stocks. I think you can expect him to get more than that, on a general game. So if his floor is in the high 20s, that's great because his ceiling's 50 and he's still under 8K. So I didn't mention him going through the run through, but yeah, he's still one of my favorite tournament plays in the pivot off of those 7K guys. So that's enough of me.
Perfect. Very good. All right, let's bring in Bobby back here. And I guess I want to talk about your approach to tournaments. Are you stacking up certain games? Are there high-owned guys that you're fading? What's your overall game plan here?
In terms of just basically, I don't know. And for me, just pivots off of guys that I think are going to be relatively chalky at the point guard position just to start off. Fred VanVleet, not that he's a bad play. I'm definitely going to be overweight, but I think there are pivots. De'Aaron Fox, I like him in a pace-up matchup versus Golden State. Killian Hayes, same thing at the top of the slate at 7 p.m. I don't mind him going against Charlotte. That's also pace up. Scoot's going to get steamed up, but I'm going to be over on Scoot regardless. So, yeah, just thinking through, those are probably the 4 main point guards that I have interest in at the shooting guard position just to move over because I really don't think I really want to get to too many other point guards. Jaylen Brown, I would imagine, is going to be very chalky on FanDuel tonight. Yeah, he's going to be egregiously owned. But there are pivots. Oscar Thompson for Detroit. I think he's not the worst play. Don't mind getting to him. Don't mind getting to Jalen Green with the Rockets with how fast the Spurs play. Zach LaVine means he hit on him. Like him a good bit. Clay's in that pace-up game versus Sacramento. So those are guys that I definitely have interest in as tournament pivots. I think Jalen Green's probably going to be pretty chalky, but I think the majority will go to Jaylen Brown, Jalen Green. So those other guys that I mentioned as pivots are, I guess, somewhat interesting. At the small forward position, shooting guard small forward seems to be the most loaded position on FanDuel. LaVine seems like the chalk. Paolo, I would imagine a lot of people are going to try to get to Paolo. Jaylen Brown has multi-positional eligibility, so you can always get to him. For tournaments, Franz Wagner, Zaire Williams, Jeremy Grant. Kirkwood kind of hit on the fact that he's actually going to be facilitating a little bit tonight for what it's worth. So if you want to play some Jeremy Grant, I think he's fine. Paul George. Those would be more of the small forwards that I'd be interested in on FanDuel. Power forward would be the next position. Jaren Jackson. I think he's a great play. Would try to be significantly over. Like him on both sites tonight, but specifically FanDuel because everything he does in terms of stocks. Chet Holmgren, I like him a good bit. He's coming in pretty relatively low owned. I think everyone's going to kind of gravitate to Evan Mobley. So I think that you can go to those 2 guys.
Real quick on Chet, he did not get a whole lot of minutes. Was there foul trouble issues? Was there blowout issues? I was box score checking, and I want to say he only maybe played 25 minutes.
Means he might know that better than me, but I think they probably have a minutes cap on him based on him coming back from injury, I would imagine.
I think it was slight foul trouble in the first half, and then they pulled him out with 2 or 3 minutes left in the half too. Maybe it was I think he might have gotten too quick, and then they were being cautious with him. I don't quite recall. I'd have to look that one up. I was watching that one too because we had his prop over, but that didn't work out.
Yeah. All right. Sorry. Continue.
Yeah, I think Wemby's in play as well. Daron Sharp. They're Daron Sharp's definitely more of a DraftKings play for me. But yeah, Jabari Smith. We're talking about these. That's basically the power forward position for me. And then center, thinking about tournaments. Well, Daron, you could just go right back to him. I think Mobley, once again, will be one of the more chalkier plays. Zach Collins as well. I don't think I'd get to much Zach Collins in tournaments. Like Sengun, don't mind going right back to Wemby. But I think Wemby is going to get steamed up on both sites, so that's something to watch out for. prefer him on FD. DeAndre Ayton, someone I could get over with on that I don't think a lot of people will be playing in this Portland spot. So, yeah, that's pretty much tournaments on FanDuel for me.
Very good. Okay, with that, we can kick it over to DK. Means we got a question in the chat. Zane says, is Cade dropping another 50 bomb? Not out of the question, right?
Not out of the question. I will take the under on
Yeah.
the Cade 50 bomb.
All right, let's walk through this build over on DK. It's not as easy as it was 2 nights ago. It is
not.
A little tighter. You can't just jam in all the good players.
And I want to talk about something right off the bat because our projections team is talking about the Nets beats don't think Sharp's going to start. So, and that they were on Sharp. Sorry.
Yep.
And so I'm not saying he's not going to still be like a guy you can play because you would still think he's going to be out there a decent amount at the 5.
But as of now, he's like kind of the cheap value. He's the dude everyone's on.
That's the point. Yeah. Like now he's probably, I mean, I'm guessing we'll bring him down to like 20 minutes. And now he's like fine. But like what is he looking like? And again, our ownership updated with with our move of the Cavs. So like if you take Cavs out of the equation, who are 3 of the 4 highest projected owned on DK, then it's Sharp. Then if you think Sharp down to 20 minutes, not going to project as well as ownership's going to go down. Like, so like, and this game starts 90 minutes after the slate lock. So my point being, maybe not worth playing into the one of the chalkiest players on the slate. We can, there's late swaps, so we can all figure that out as it goes. But a lot of people are not going to figure it out. A lot of people are going to close their laptops in 20 minutes. So just be mindful. If he does not start, this is one of those situations where I think he'll probably come down to like 20 minutes maybe. So if you want to be editing builds, that's one thing I would consider putting him at just as a placeholder. And yeah, this Cleveland news is important because, and this game starts in 20 minutes. Aren't they at this? Oh no. Okay, good. They're always 7:00 starts. They're 7:30 start times. That helps a little. But like, as far as, especially on DK, man, like these guys are really popping. Donovan Mitchell's the most obvious play on the slate now, assuming no Garland. I'm just going by what's in our projections now. So this kind of moves everything around because point guard and shooting guard were the hardest positions for me to fill out throughout the day. I feel completely opposite about that if I have Mitchell point guard and LeVert shooting guard. And then we have the Portland stuff that opened up, relatively recently. So you have Shaedon Sharp at 5'3", and he has shooting guard, small forward. Like I was dreading those positions 3 hours ago or whatever, and now those are like the easiest ones for me to put in. So yeah. So like this is really tough to talk about because there's so many like if this then this going into it. So I'm just going to talk about it the way we have it projected. And I pretty much, for point guard and shooting guard, I pretty much already talked about it. I like the 2 Cavs guys. And then I like CP3, but like, I think I have Schroeder tag. Like he had really good rates in the first game. And like, again, it's one of those things where you can't just automatically project that right away. Like I'm sure a lot of the projection is going like who he was last year, but he was on the Lakers last year. Like you're playing with LeBron and AD. Like he had I'm trying to think about it. Let me hover over. I think I wrote it in my blurb. Let's see. He was 26% usage rate and 42% assist rate in that game on Wednesday. Van Vliet for the season as a Raptor last year was 23% usage and 28% assist rate. Not going to get as many minutes out of Schroeder, but like Schroeder's like 5'6". He's probably going to see Kobe White on him tonight. Like if that anywhere close to that type of volume remains, like that's what they want to do the whole season, or just that's what they're doing now until they get acclimated. Mm-hmm. That's like way too cheap for that kind of volume. That's like lead point guard stuff, basically. Yeah. So what do we have him at 12%? So give me some of that. Like I think he's a perfect pivot off of someone like Chris Paul. You save $1,000 too, and for the Portland guys for that matter, like Scoot at 5'9", he's a good pivot off him. Like Scoot's an unknown as well, so Yeah, but if this Cleveland news goes the way it's looking, I would go those guys first and foremost. Those are the first two guys to be put in. And hopefully, with the way this is trending, it's always good when this stuff breaks so much later. And even better if it breaks after lock. Like, people are just not good at making decisions like that on the fly. So, I would not worry about ownership at all on Cavs guys if this news breaks. Because there's just the nature of it is going to be they're going to be chalky still, I'm sure, but just nowhere near as much as if this happened 6 hours ago. So I would lean into those guys. Let's keep it moving a little bit. I'll do shooting guard, small forward here real quick. Basically, all guys I've already talked about with the Cavs guys, Sharp, Scoot. DeRozan's fine. I still like Levine better. I think DeRozan's going to probably get OG on him as well, which should give at least Levine a little bit of a better matchup. And they want to shoot more threes. So Levine shoots threes. DeRozan is literally allergic to them. So I would pick Levine over DeRozan. And you have all of these donkeys out here like, oh my God, he's playing the Raptors. I have to play DeMar DeRozan. He's playing the Raptors. Revenge game. Let's play DeRozan.
Yeah, you're right. Now I have to play him.
Yeah, just Dunk City, and go ahead and clip this out when he has 70 tonight. That's fine. I don't care. Yeah, so that'd be the upper mid-range guy. I'd prefer Levine. Yeah, that's Cavs and Blazers though for the most part. Power forward. I didn't mention Brogdon either. Brogdon, and this is he's point guard, shooting guard, he's 5'2". This is one of those things too where he's kind of in this no man's land situation there where they probably want to move him for more assets, but he's also better than the guys they have that are young just because he's a vet. But so it's like one of those things where if the coach gets frustrated with one of the young guys, Brogdon's going to play more. But if those guys play well, they're like, yeah, let's let the young guys run because they're our future. Blah. It's just weird. Like, he's fine, and it's hard to predict, but I guess I would let ownership drive that a little bit too. If he's coming in, I'm guessing he's going to be lower owned than Sharp and Scoot. So that's just for that reason alone, that'd be a good guy to play into the other Portland ownership. Power forward, similar names I talked about on Fanduel. I'd be looking at Jabari Smith. I'd be looking at Jaren Jackson. I'd be looking at Evan Mobley. Let's see. I like Randall a little higher up than that. I don't think anyone's going to play him. He struggled a little bit in their first game, but the volume was there, and that's all we really care about. He should have a really good matchup against Atlanta. So I like him a lot. He's only 5% on DK. That is a pristine play, in my opinion. Jeremy Grant at 6'1", decent. And then, so the center thing, see, the Brooklyn game starts at the same window, 8:30, so 90 minutes from lock. Man, it's going to get tricky. I'm probably trying to talk through this kind of out loud. I'm probably building without Sharp in now, just because I think I can get these like 4 or 5K guys like LeVert's and the Portland guys and play away from that chalk. And I'm only playing one lineup, so it's easy for me to sit here and say what I'm going to do on that. So I'm probably going to steer away from him. I'm just going to play like Duren. Like, dude had like 48 DraftKings points, and like no one's going to play him tonight. So let's see, what's Duren's ownership? Yeah, he's 16%. Like, I can find my roster, 2,300 of those other spots I was talking about. So yeah, I'm going to probably play Duren over Sharp, and then the spin ups are the JJJs, Şengün's, Mobley. So yeah, that's it.
Anthony says, is it bad to play Stewart and Duren in the same lineup?
That's probably a tournament question. I'll let Bobby take that. I wouldn't do that on this big of a slate. What do you think, man?
I wouldn't do that on this big of a slate, but I do like both of them. I like the call on Sharp. Like, if you're going to completely fade or just go underweight, I would go underweight because he does have only center eligibility. And LeVert has shooting guard, small forward. Also, Shaedon Sharp has shooting guard, small forward. Sohan, so he's point guard, small forward. I think there's a ton of opportunity costs at center. Mm-hmm. So I like the idea of just getting off the net Sharp, especially if he's coming off the bench now. Grant Williams got Wemby in a foul trouble either. I know Wemby's completely raw, but Day'Ron Sharp's pretty raw too, right? So I don't know if he's coming off the bench. I don't really have a ton of interest. I'm going to try to get off in tournaments. Where should I start from? I'm trying to figure.
And to be clear, we don't know that
point
he's
guard
not
position.
To be clear, real quick, we don't know that Day'Ron Sharp is not starting.
We don't know that he's not starting. Well,
that's
we're speculating. I was coming in under anyways.
Yeah.
I like for tournaments. I just think you could come in under. I think, like I said, there's a ton of opportunity cost at center. So
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Guys, I like at the point guard position. Kind of do this quickly. Yeah, I said Sochan. I like him a good bit. Donovan Mitchell, he's going to get steamed up a ton now. Right back to Killian Hayes. Don't mind him. Smart, he's another one. Kobe White, they had an issue in Chicago the other night. I like White tonight. I know they called like a team meeting. They don't want him to be the point guard or whatever. That's fine with me. I'm going to play him tonight if the sentiment's negative for Kobe White. Getting over on Luka. I think he's in a really good spot. Trae Young at the Garden, paying up for him. I think that's interesting. I wrote up Curry today. I just can't. I'm struggling to get to Curry for whatever reason. So I probably should change that. But if you're on the show, I guess you can kind of take my opinion now. De'Aaron Fox, he's in a pace-up game. I like Fox a good bit, and that's pretty much point guard. Shooting guard, kind of get to that right now. Karis LeVert, I think, is the strongest play. Donovan Mitchell's there as well. Talked about him. Cash game play. Scoot Henderson, more of a cash game play. Rozier, I think, is someone who's tournament viable. Like I said, that game, Detroit and Charlotte, it's going to play fast. So we also know Melo has the minutes. His minutes are pretty much capped because he's coming off that ankle injury. Yeah, Levine's probably my favorite play. Like Meansy said, I like Levine a good bit for a bounce back. And paying up for Cade Cunningham, I think, is pretty interesting as well. I'm playing larger field stuff, so I'm naming off a bunch of players. I know a lot of people are only playing 2 to 3 lineups. Playing a little more than that, so I'm just going through like guys in my player pool who are popping currently.
What's your how do you feel about your lineups right now? It's your first NBA crunch time, is that correct?
Yeah, it's my first NBA crunch time. How do I feel? How do I feel about them? Little nervous.
How you feel about your upload? Your M&E? Do you want me to take all the questions?
Little nervous, but yeah, if you want to take some now, yeah, it wouldn't be the worst thing.
I can see it in your face. Let's let Bobby hit his script a little bit. And I'll take some questions. You want to do that, Bobby?
Yeah, that works for me.
All right.
Thanks, Means. Appreciate that one.
Game recognized game means you just saw him.
I can see it.
Oh,
I
that's
can
that
see
last
it in his
minute
face,
crunch.
man.
That's that last minute sweat that you get when you're doing the show.
We were joking. Me and him were joking earlier because like when you and I just did the show, Roth, I was like, that's impossible. Like impossible to do lineups because like Roth does not want dead air. So like I want quiet so I can do my lineup. And Roth is sitting there. Okay, what about this? What are you gonna do here? And then we got a question. He was like, I'm not playing lineup. Let's do that.
You always did a good job of like walking us through it. But all right, so we got about 8-9 minutes here, and I think it's time to dive on in to some of these QQs. Keep in mind, we're going to start in the RotoGrinders Discord. That's where all the cool kids are hanging out. That's where you should be as well. So I'm jumping into the RotoGrinders Discord, and once I'm done with that, we'll take some questions over in the YouTube as well. By the way, if you're watching on YouTube, this is free content by two of the sharpest minds in the biz. All we ask is that you hit us with a little thumbs up, like and subscribe. That's it. It's good for us to get the eyeballs. It's good for you. We're trying to keep the show.
Roth, I already have the $100 issue. I want to use my card.
I did too.
Already.
I had it too.
Three nights into the season.
There is a long-standing thought that once per season, you should be allowed to just pull your one-time card and spend an extra $100 in your lineup. Yep. I also ran into it today, Means, and I was like, damn it.
I want it right now. I will use it.
Yeah.
No, they don't have that yet.
Yeah, we're working on it. All right, let's jump into some of these QQs here. Meansy, your favorite studs in a FanDuel GPP large field?
I was just about to say this as Bobby was wrapping up. Did anyone, like, I think Bobby said something about Luka. But like, do we even mention Jokic tonight? Holy cow, man! Like, good lord! Like, I'm gonna say
Yeah,
one of those two
I was
guys,
going to get to
probably
Jokic. Like Jokic and Luke.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be over on both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see what else we got here. Luke Cage says Lively and Duran and DK GPPs fading sharp. Is that viable? So that was, yeah. I see what he's doing, and means you think that's quite viable.
Yeah, that's exactly what Bobby and I were talking about. Take that approach. Because like Lively probably going to start tonight, and he had a great game. So yeah, I think that's a great route.
Okay. Let's see. FanDuel GPP means last piece in a mini stack, Wiggy or K Murray.
I would go Wiggy. And Bobby, when you feel free to just give us like a chicken wing when you're ready. If you want to hop in, just give us the chicken wing. But I can keep taking them.
No,
Literally
keep going.
moving.
I'm having some difficulties.
I'll take it through. Don't even worry about it.
Hammer says means you eating it Cheval for dinner. You getting a little greasy burger action.
We had that like an hour and a half ago. We had early, like we had no lunch. We had an early ass dinner.
Excellent work on a Friday. Let's see. FanDuel Cash means here we go. Brooks and I think that's Triple J, Jay Jackson, or Boncaro and Jay Smith. FanDuel Cash.
Who was the first? I would do the second one. Sorry.
Okay, great. Booley says, I got distracted. Are we waiting for injury news with Cleveland or just a starting lineup? We're waiting for injury news with what's his name?
Garland, yeah, and still
Garland.
nothing, it sounds like.
Yeah. We have him projected right now as out, but that's not official, correct?
That is correct.
Yeah. This is a good question. JT Money says, are there 2 or 3 cheap locks? Oof, that's like a contrarian phrase, a cheap lock. Or good cheap chalk guys that you like, FanDuel specific. So it means, are there a few cheapies that you feel pretty good about?
There's definitely no quote unquote locks.
Yeah.
I really feel good about Looney, especially at his ownership. So I'll say Looney because he's the same price as Jabari. I'm guessing a lot of people will be flip-flopping power forward center since a lot of the good plays have dual eligibility. So I would say Looney.
Okay, excellent. Means FanDuel single entry from J Sam's Clay or Shadon Sharp. Both are projected nearly the same ownership-wise. P.S. I also have Scoot in this lineup.
I was just about to say Shadon Sharp. That was single entry?
It was, yes.
Yeah. I think the smart thing to do is Clay. I would, if it was mine, I'd be a donkey and play the Portland guys now.
Okay, that's fair. That's allowed. Ball says, hey, means is 4 Rockets too many in FanDuel Cash? Shagun, Jalen Green, Jabari Smith, and
VanVleet. The Brooks projects well. Jabari, Shagun. Yeah, there's at least 4 or 5 that project pretty well. So I don't think that's a bad thing at all.
Okay, very good. I want to stack this Golden State and Sacramento game. What pieces do you like to stack together here? What are your favorite pieces to stack in that game?
Fox,
Yeah.
Looney. I think if you're going to stack it, you got to do Steph.
Yes.
And then I think you can play CP3 with him too. So I would do, let me think of one more. Let me think of one more king to give him because I would only play one of Fox and Sabonis. And I would probably say it's Keegan Murray.
Very good. K-Town's Finest says, Roth, in your nuts lineup, because I've got the nuts already, who is your must-play, lock play? It's Şengün. It's Şengün, and I think it's probably Brunson, not too far behind that. Those are my guys, ride or die. Like Şengün, I don't care if he's got Wemby on him. I don't care. He's going to do literally everything, and he's going to play 35 minutes. He's going to get a triple-double, and he's 7-5. Like, it's just he's a 7-5 triple-double. I don't
see you at the top tonight, Ralph.
Yeah, that's it. We're done. Clip it, cut it, save it. In fact, post it now because that's how damn confident I am that's what's going down. Triple-double from my boy Şengün. We got about 2 minutes until lock. Bobby, you feel confident in a couple QQs here?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, that was a no. GPP from the John Tom. Duran or Sohan?
I like Duran. Oh, Sohan. I'm sorry, Sohan.
Sohan. Okay.
I'm gonna have Sohan and Sharp in pretty much every lineup if this gets through right now. So
nice. Yeah, I am 100% Sohan as well. He and I got 100% Sohan and
looks like we're on the same stuff, Roth. I like to hear it.
That's good news for you today, my man, because I've been on a heater.
Good news for me. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, definitely.
Let's see. We got about a minute here until lock. Is D Mitch a FanDuel must if Garland is out? Means
I think I just missed the update when I was going through. Look at his price. I think I just missed our update when I was going through FanDuel earlier. Let me bump it up. He is 10K. I don't think he's not going to be a must. He's going to probably be. I'm guessing he'll get a lot of them in builds just because he's going to project as one of the better spend ups. But I would not say he's a must. Okay. Worst price tag, worst scoring system.
Okay. Chinatown DK Cash means who do you most worry about fading in the 7 o'clock games? He says, I'm thinking Triple J, but I don't know.
I'm not worried about fading him. He's 7-4 and he's volatile. I don't think many people are going to play him in cash games, so I'm not worried about anybody. I mean, I'm worried about Jokic. I don't think I'm worried about anybody because I don't think people are going to play a lot of people in that game. So, I think I'm okay if someone goes off, I guess is the best way to put it.
Okay. Means DKGPP, balance build, Klay Thompson, Mikal Bridges viable with Bridges as my highest spend up in a DKGPP.
That's viable.
Let's see. Caleb Martin ruled out. Derek says, in case anyone cares.
I do not care.
I don't think. Devin says, start it over. we gotta redo it all. Let's see. Hey, we hit the lock. Ladies and gentlemen. Bobby, you get those lineups in?
I got them in, but I didn't get as much yoke as I wanted. I can tell you that much. So not too happy about it, but we'll see. Over on Luka.
Yeah. Okay, all right.
My stuff all froze up. I'm sorry about that. Means I didn't know.
No, Bobby already sent a message to Devin. No more crunch times, dog. I'm done. I'm out on this. Ain't worth it.
Let's see. We did a pretty good job here catching up with all the QQs. Garland is out. Casey Douglas says. Now, I haven't confirmed that, but in the chat, we've got someone saying Garland is out. I was building that way the whole time, so hopefully that's
good. Good for RotoGrinders subscribers because that's what our lineup HQ said. So
very good. Yep, and it is official. TJ says he was out literally 1 second after lock. That is how we prefer it. That's the best way. That's how you get the edge. We're gonna bounce on out of here because while Meansy has already had a delicious cheeseburger, I still have to cook mine and eat it. So I got a little bit of time here before I can get in on that. We are going to bounce. I'm going to tweet. You watch out for my tweet. When Şengün hits the triple-double and when I take down a tournament tonight, I will be tweeting. So follow
2 tweets from Roth tonight.
That's right. It's happening. For me and for Bobby, for our wonderful production crew. Always Worko. Woo! Levert not starting.
Good thing we played. Good thing we played Portland Sharp, Roth. There you go, right there.
I had a lot of Levert. He took like 20 shots the other game.
Why are they starting Wade?
Who were they starting?
Man, we have Levert at 30. Dean Wade. They're doing Donovan, Strus, Okoro, Dean Wade, and Mobley. We have Levert at 34, so his projection is going to come down. Strus is going to actually look pretty good. I mean, we already had him starting, but
Keith Eister, who is a part of our NBA projection team, says Levert's still going to play 30 plus. He's fine.
Keith, tell everyone what you're going to put him at. That's what I want to know.
Yeah, and keep in mind there is like a 20-second delay or so it'll be a little bit. But Ice, let us know what we're putting him at minutes wise.
I bet they're going to bring like 31 or 32. That's my guess.
Yeah. Okay, well that makes us feel a little bit better as we wait for Ice's update here. TJ says I'm keeping him at 50%. He's another guy. I might be 100% on him. He was at 31 before Garland was out. I don't know where he went after Garland was out, I guess is what matters.
Yeah.
All right.
130,
Anyways,
132.
point is, all right. We still feel okay with him. Great update. Keith sliding in there into the DMs. We're going to bounce. So officially now, for Means, for Bobby, for our wonderful projection crew, always working hard behind the scenes. Guys, we appreciate you. We love it. And we will catch you tomorrow. You have been.